that third jump to come through, you get an early Oblivion, which makes it a lot tougher to block and almost impossible to dodge out of. So then he gets slept up, and then you try and burst him down or stun him up. Obviously, with CC, you were talking about, you've got Adagio, which is going to be very vital to block, and I expect that we might even see a null wave if that is a Captain Adagio, because it's forcing out the Crucible, so then you get a free stun, and obviously there's Churnwalker as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a second hero pick up Crucible. Catherine comes to mind immediately. I think Catherine should pick up a Crucible even if you're going carry, so you get more damage on your Stormguard Reflection, especially if they have an Aftershock, and you then have a second Crucible, one for the Koshka ult, one for the Churn ult. But we're going to have to wait and see if they decide to go for two Crucibles on the team, or if that they haven't quite thought of that as an idea yet.
Yeah, well, I was thinking here, looking at Ace Gaming draft, their composition, it's kind of opposite to the first match. We had a team that was very aggressive, very much you're going to push through onto the enemy team, and now they've gone for more of a defensive strategy. Really, you're able to counter-react to the engage coming through from Renegades with obviously the silence on Catherine, and then the Verse of Judgment on the Adagio Scarf. As long as they're able to get the goop down, can land some massive poke through with the Spitfire as well. And then you have, I believe, who was it? You have the Sky on the team. I mean, Sky isn't going to be CP in this situation, but even if they're not CP, that Death from Above still able to do a lot of work in terms of zoning as well as stunning up if you're able to land it on top of them. So I don't know. This time, I think Ace once again done a great draft for themselves, but Renegades in the same hand have also done the same, and it's just going to be up to whether that Ozo gets caught out alone going in without his team, because that's a problem here when I talk about the defensive comp coming through for Ace.
Yeah, and speaking of the Ozo, to counter that, I really hope whoever's playing the Samuel, whether it's in mid lane or in top lane from Renegades, I hope he builds a Spellfire into Clockwork on the Samuel. Those as first two items are kind of a necessity against the Ozo. You have to get Mortal Wounds on him, so Samuel is so good at applying that with his Malison Verdict. But we're going to have to wait and see. The match is ready. So without further ado, let's head on to Sovereign's Rise and hand it over once again to yourself, Ogrestul, and Luxuria.
Hello, and welcome back. I'm really excited for this particular match, at least, because we know we have our homeboys playing on our home server. So I'm expecting a little more from them. I mean, compared to the first match itself, they didn't do too shabby, right? So let's just see how Renegades would actually perform in Southeast Asia. As for Ace Gaming, we are starting to see a trend here. Very tanky, frontliners, tons of CC, and then all they want to do is just prolong those team fights. And so I have to agree with Minimizer. Spellfire here on the Samuel will be a necessity.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it comes down to, once again, whether Renegades are going to be able to build, you could say correctly this time, but it wasn't so much that... that their builds were incorrect. It just, for the situational, you've really got to adapt there. And I think that the Spellfire could be a good pickup. But either way, as long as Spaghetti on the Samuel is able to land down the poke, could be good enough for them to win out the early game. And we'll just have to see how it goes. Looks like SNK going to be holding the mid ground with them for now, clearing out some vision. And no really early invades, no early aggression coming through overall from either team. You've just got standard rotations going through the jungle now, back up to the lanes. And if we look at what's going on here, it was, as many predicted, the Catherine up in the top lane. And I think that works out well alongside the Ozo, because you're going to be able to stun out targets. That makes it so much easier for that Ozo to chase down with the already massive chase potential they have. And you can see Aeon, meanwhile, actually struggling in the spot lane to go up against the Adagio Sky. So they've gone 2-2-1, but it means that jungle is rather open at the moment. I think Ozo is the jungler for them and will be kind of roaming around between the lanes. However,
yep, and one more thing as well. Although, Sky as a hero in general, not very strong in this 5v5. There's so much body block happening, especially if you're running the C variant as compared to weapon power. But the perks of running weapon power on Sky would be just your mobility alone. So let's just take a look and break down Ace's team comp here. they have an Adagio, a very stationary hero, which will be going on the roam. So that is a lot of healing, a lot of sustain, firstly. And then you have Sky. You mentioned earlier on the Death Robe above. That is an AoE stun and a slow. Easy to set up for Tasa on that Ozo to go in for the Bangarang. And that in itself is it's a soft CC during the traveling period. In a sense where, when Ozo actually Bangarangs, he sends people falling tossed to the side, I guess. And then, of course, you have a Catherine with that very reliable stun, which I always mention. And, of course, the AoE silence. And the slow goop, basically Scarf's slow, and the slow from Scarf's ultimate as well. So there's a lot of CC coming out, soft and hard for the side of Ace Gaming. And I'm really looking forward as to see how the side of Renegades will actually react or respond to the amount of CCs. And let's see if actually Ace Gaming will be playing for the late game once again, because they seem to be just very, very comfortable with their late game fights.
Yeah, you can see Ace Gaming this time not really putting the pressure on, playing to their team comp strength, as you mentioned. But Darklon going to get caught out there, needs to be careful. SNK going to try and engage on the Churnwalker, but in the front line, taking up a bit too much damage. None being traded out. Sky going to be able to pick up the first blood against them, and Spaghetti going low. And although this is the thing about Ace Gaming's team comp, I talked about in the draft, and you touched on it a bit there, that although they have these defensive heroes, they also have the aggression there with the Ozo and the Sky if they want to turn it around, going to be taking down by Grubjaw, and it looks like they will be fighting for this mid, and there's going to be Tassa just diving onto Spaghetti and taking him out of the fight. SNK having to respond to this, rotating back to the mid lane, trying to protect this turret. They shouldn't be able to take it this early in the game with only 3 members, but they were able to do some decent damage and also trade out pretty well. Meanwhile, Tezzaboy, however, does have a favorable trade in the top. Needs to be careful. Not sure if he noticed that there were actually 3 people coming in here from the side of Ace Gaming. Chingy on the backline, however, is going to dive in, playing Bikoshka there, going through onto Shana, not able to pick them up, however, is able to regroup with Tezzaboy, and they're safe for now. But meanwhile, Creation on the Sky, diving in deep once again. Aeon might be able to catch them out, however, on the Grumpjaw. They do use the boots, and they're going to catch up. Creation trying to get depth from above down, but it's a bit too late. And you can see a bit of trade happening there, but I think this is why Ace Gaming's team is so much better, because it's reactionary, and then they also have the engage potential on their side. So it's different from the first matchup, but it's definitely going to work out, especially if they're able to play it through to the late game. And as you said, they're just playing it quite passive for now, but if Renegades decide to dive on them, they're not afraid to put up a fight.
They are definitely not afraid. I mean, the entire team comp from Ace Gaming is just centered around team fights, and they will pretty much like it and love it even if you do just fight within the perimeters of their heroes, because that's what the heroes do, right? I mean, you have Catherine, you have Scarf, generally very stationary heroes, and of course you have very good front line as well. Darklon C may be caught out as Utasa, but the entirety of Renegades may just be able to get away.
Well, this is the thing. You see the difference there of Renegades, although they supposedly called out Darklon and Tassa, they really did not want to go in a fight with that. They knew that to go in a fight, really right now, I think they're only able to catch out single targets in this early game, at least for the side of Renegades, would be the case scenario. And there's going to be Tassa going in with the Bangarang on Spaghetti. It gets blown up instantly. And there's going to be SNK soon to follow. Chingy need to be careful. Might want to get out there. Uses the Catnip Frenzy, but Creation just going to block that one out and walks out of the turret range. They should be able to take this one first turret of the game, if I'm not mistaken, going over to the side of Ace Gaming. But meanwhile, you do see Grumpjaw in the bot lane putting some pressure onto the bot turret. Not able to finish off, though. And this is so crucial. He knows... I'm not sure whether Aeon, if they die here, really should have just made the choice to... Yeah, Aeon will fall. And that really raises the question of whether Aeon should have sacrificed their life. It is the early game, and I think trading out is so much more important, because if you don't, you're letting Ace Gaming start to build that lead, start to get that snowball. It will be Creation overstaying their welcome a bit too long in the enemy lane, in the enemy jungle now. and will probably get caught out. But if they can trade anything out for that, I will be impressed. They are taking up a lot of time and a lot of resources from the side of Renegades. And you can see the mid lane now was able to get pushed up. Catherine in the top lane, likewise able to push up the top. And Ace Gaming, they kind of get even more than they were given if you're not able to trade. I think that really Aeon should have sacrificed his life just to finish off that bomb turret, but we do see him back in the bot lane again. But this time Adagio has rotated back there to defend it.
That was 3 players chasing down Creation on that Weapon Sky. And that quite proves the point. It's just that the mobility from Weapon Sky is just a little too much for the heroes from the side of Renegades to deal with. And there's one more thing as well. I was expecting Chingy to be a little more aggressive in that early game, as he will always be whenever he goes on that Koshka, as he's known for as well. But for now, we are seeing a more passive gameplay. And of course, Koshka now, let's all agree that she no longer loses that early game that she used to lose very, very badly. Now she still can carry in the late game, but she'll become more of a utility.
Renegades might find the engagement they want, and they do. They pick up the scarf, and this is what I was talking about, the Koshka need to really be there with the team, and you just were starting to mention that they need to find that single engagement, because as soon as this turns into a team engagement, it's going to go around the other way. You see SNK on the backline. Creation, though, going very low, will fall to the hands of Spaghetti on that Samuel, and it looks like then Tasa rejoining into the fight should be able to pick up SNK. They get the kill now. Spaghetti on the enemy side of the jungle, having to kite back on their own, but the sustain coming through here isn't going to be enough to match the sustain coming through from the Adagio and the Ozo together. Burst of Judgment taking down the Koshka, but Tezzaboy now joining in the fight. Haven't seen much action from him in this game, but we won't just yet, as he has to back away, knowing that he does not want to fight against Scarf and Adagio. Meanwhile, Aeon did do their job. Aeon being quite the split pusher in this match. It's correct for the top lane to do so, as that is the top lane for the red side. And we do look at the builds here for a quick second, and we see that Aeon with that tension bow with the Tyrant's Monocle early once again is going for that early burst damage build, but the question is whether they'll decide to turn that Book of Eulogies into anything else, or if it's just there for the early game.
I really doubt Aeon would actually build any form of sustain on this Grum job. Probably Tension Bow in Double Tyrant's Monocle, as we saw in the previous game. And in this particular matchup, maybe it'll work if you can get past Tarsa, Creation, Sweet Box, and Darklon, and go into the backlines, eliminate one person.
Sweetbox going in with the Merciless Pursuit, gets blocked out, but Death from above landing on the backline, and they're able to pick up Spaghetti. Chingy getting separated by Creation and chased down. Meanwhile, the mid lane getting pressure. There's going to be the Dragon Breath coming through. They're able to pick up the kill onto Churnwalker, but Tezboy trying to go for a 1v4, a bit of a dangerous situation, but more so just protecting his mid lane turret. And you can see that although Creation does have a lot of speed there, did not follow through with the chase down onto Chingy, and as a result, Chingy able to pick up a wandering kill onto that of Tasa on the Ozo. Meanwhile, Creation did rotate down to respond to Aeon, and Aeon just constantly being that threat that's unseen, but obviously noticed by Ace in the end. And Renegades able to trade out here. I like to see this, as you see the gold lead really minimized, although they are still losing in objectives, especially for that mid lane. The gold difference is only 36.8k over to 35.8, so a 1k difference there. And you can see Renegades being a bit aggressive now, going into the enemy jungle, trying to steal something out. They get the Gold Oak, but it's going to be Koshka following weapon and CP buff dropped, and it's soon to be, I believe the Grumpjaw won't be able to pick up Creation. They're just too mobile, as you mentioned. Such a hard team to engage on, what Ace Gaming had picked up for themselves.
Yep, and although we saw Samuel being picked up by Renegades, and more often than not, we say Samuel is one of the many dunces, or one of 3 dunces on the fold, in which he can basically just kite for days. The issue with it now is he's kind of stationary when it comes to kiting as compared to a Sky, and Ghostwing captured by the side of it.
Yep, and we do see Ace capturing that Ghostwing, but they haven't got full, I guess, utility out of it yet, and there's going to be the engagement by Renegades. They pick up the Scarf. They need to go in deep. They need to go in hard. There's going to be the Cat and Frenzy onto the Sky. That's one after the other. Sweetbox is going to be the next target to get chased down, and more than likely going to fall, caught in between 4 members of Renegades. And I believe they didn't even lose our single member now. This is what Renegades needed. And once again, we talked about it happened to them in the last game. A bit of a turnaround situation there. However, it cost them the game when it happened. Ace Gaming only going to cost them a turret, if anything. But we do see Darklon and Tessa trying to defend this mid, and Chingy going in deep once again. Needs to be careful, though, not to dive in too deep, as Shana is rejoining in the fight on that Scarf, trying to land the Spitfires down. But Renegades realizing the presence and are going to back out of this fight.
Well, Renegades coming up actually very, very strong in the particular fight. Just able to catch out Scarf, and then followed by Creation as with Sweetbox as well. Those are the key targets. Those are the few key targets that Renegades have to go for. And that is what Chingy really is very, very good for. To actually go in, jump on to Shana, eliminate Shana very, very early into the team fight. And with that, it will be an easy cleanup for the side of Renegades, because you have Grumjo that's going for full burst. You have Chingy that's just very strong with assassination. So those are the few heroes that you just have to go into the back lines, take them down, and it will be easy cleanup like we saw earlier on. And as with Minimizer said in the previous game, Renegades consistently went for the gold swing for the 300 gold to each member, and then as well as consistently going for it, they were consistently caught out as well by the side of Ace. And Ace actually falling back into this particular mistake of Renegades will give Renegades the side of Renegades at least a chance to soften this gold lead and even come out on top. But of course, we do see now Ace is still very, very strong with close to 2,000 gold.
Well, that's the thing. If Ace are prepared for a team fight, very much so they're going to win it out. But you could see there they weren't too sure about the engagement that was going on. They had just finished off taking the Ghost. I was going to say Ghost Claw, Ghost Wing, though. And Renegades realize there's an opportunity to strike, but right now we see Ace as a team all together. They are the ones to catch out the Samuel. Now moving on to that of SNK on the German Walker. Chingy and Tezzaboy probably best to just stay hidden, I would say. Not sure if they noticed Chingy in that bush there. Ooh, if only a second later Creation would have caught them out, and you've seen Tezzaboy has stuck around. They might be going for the steal if they're able to do so, but Sweetbox going to clear up his top with the merciless pursuit, making sure Tezza is nowhere near able to steal this Black Claw, and that should be a very clean objective for the side of Ace Gaming. That is going to help them even more because they've put so much pressure into the mid lane. Whereas you look at the mid lane coming through from Ace Gaming, where they only lost one turret recently, that Ace Gaming they kind of prepped this for the Black Claw push, and already a half-health turret should be able to take this, and maybe even a tier 3 if they push alongside it.
Oh, a team fight may just break up because Renegades need to save down, or rather save this turret at least, as we see all 5 members of Ace marching down the mid lane.
Already wasted, it misses, and you can see the turret just tanking the damage. It's going low. They might even get armor for this one if they continue the pursuit. There's going to be War Treads pop by the side of Ace Gaming. They're trying to dive onto Tezzaboy, going in deep, but there's going to be Adagio taking out the Grumpjaw next for Koshka. Double kill for them, and they're going on to backline. SNK going to fall next. Tezzaboy needs to be careful not to get caught out alongside Spaghetti. They just need to defend their base at this point. Ace Gaming could finish it off, but realizing that they have lost one member, they're not too confident in it. Some of their members are still half health. They are going to back out and look for a more favorable engagement. I believe Ghost Wing is back up once again, so they're now able to take this more or less likely for free, and then be able to pretty much go into the end game looking for an easy win. But Tezzaboy, does he have anything to say about this one? Oh, Spaghetti. Sidelines, but no, does not get any poke through. No Malice and Verdict shots going to be able to sneak that one away. So now Renegade's only options really are they kind of have to catch someone out from Ace Gaming, punish them for their mistakes, but if Ace don't give them any, they really just need to hold their ground and wait until that buff runs out.
Well, that is one way to play it, or they can just create a distraction as they did in the early to mid game part, allowing Aeon to just push through. Because with Aeon's current build, we saw evident Aeon just couldn't tank up any form of damage coming out from the side of Ace Gaming, whereas Sweetbox was tanking, the Rapture was tanking, the missiles from the Crystal was tanking everything, and it was just so difficult to even just tear down the side of Ace Gaming when they actually wanted a team fight. So this is the main difference between Ace and Renegades now. Ace definitely very, very true to the EA tank utility, just going for, full tank meta, as compared to Renegades, who they are pretty much still playing in Southeast Asia, where damage is everything, and basically the more damage you have, the higher likely you win.
Oh, and we see all the members of Ace Gaming position themselves in this top lane. They will easily take that turret, realizing no one is there to even respond to it, and slowly but surely breaking down the base of Renegades. You mentioned how hard of a team Ace Gaming is to really take down, and that's a problem. The only way Renegades are going to win anything here is if they can catch a single target out from the side of Ace Gaming and win off the back of a man advantage, but it's not looking favorable for them. There's the death from above, burns through the Samuel. They take them out, and Chingy trying to dive onto the Sky. They will be able to pick up a kill. Can they turn this one around? Scarf going to be the next one to fall. Was not with that team, and they're trading out kills left and right, but now it's a 3v3 situation, but that gets changed all of a sudden as there's going to be just Grumpjaw and Vox taken down in the midst of that team fight. It's so hard if you don't have the CC to out-sustain or out-damage that of the Adagio alongside the Ozo. They just have so much sustain. And Chingy, the last one left remaining for that team. Spaghetti will be up in a second. We'll see if they can turn it around here. And once again, Ace just slowly, methodically breaking apart the base. They're not going for the win just yet.
Yep, they are not, but Dark Lord, very dangerous position with Chingy just pouncing down and chasing him down. But the issue earlier on in the Putter team fight was Ace could have had a cleaner team fight. Let's all be pretty honest about that. The issue was, there was 3 members breathing down SNK Snack and basically just left the rest, basically just Tesseract and Chingy unchecked. But when they realized it was a tad too late, 2 members of theirs have fallen, and it was just down to which is basically a 3v3 without creation in the picture. So that is one thing maybe Ace can work on, because we are seeing some TP boots coming through.
Oh my, the TP boots onto the base, and they get it. They actually had a scout cam they had their own scout cam in the base, and they managed to get through 4 members, or actually the whole team going through. Ace Gaming win it out 2-0, and I was sitting there thinking about what is going to be the next team fight. How can Renegades win it out? They definitely had the right idea when they were able to take down Creation and take down Shana, but after that is just too much sustain, too much tank to get through, as you mentioned. And you can see a bit of a double support build almost coming through there, with the Catherine only needing the Aftershock, being able to be a bit more aggressive, and meanwhile the Adagio being more of that support. But Ace, I told you, they were just prepping the base, getting it ready, and they knew that if we've taken down 2 of their armories, more than likely we could just take that crystal with ease. But thank you, Luxuria, for casting that match with me. What an ending there, Mini Mida. I mean, what do you have to say about that match?
Yeah, that was a fantastic game from Ace Gaming. They knew exactly what they had to do. They got the armories, and then as a team, they sold as many items as they needed to buy teleport boots, went to the backdoor scout camp, and there is nothing you can do about that. I'm slightly disappointed in Spaghetti not going for Spellfire on the Samuel. He went for more of an old school build, Dragon's Eye, Clockwork, Broken Myth, which is a great build, but you're not going to survive. Samuel was the first one dead in most of those team fights because they just focused him. They just went straight onto the Samuel. He wasn't going to build up Dragon's Eye stacks, and there was only mortal wounds on Vox to try and counter that Ozo. So if Vox was focusing someone else, if Vox was trying to kill the Sky, then Ozo wasn't getting the mortal wounds, and he was just able to sustain for so long. And the Catherine is so good against against AoE because of her Storm Guard. She can just tank it.
Yeah, that's a problem. They left, well, they didn't particularly leave Ozo and Dagio alive, but Ozo and Dagio were simply, even the Catherine, simply alive because they were able to sustain through it. And that's right, the answer to that, one of the possibilities there would have been picking up that Spellfire, which I believe we saw a Poison Shiv more than likely picked up on Vox. I didn't actually take a glance at the build there, but it might have popped up through out that, which would definitely be the right build. But you can't just put it all on that one hero to really do that. And why not make use of the Samuel, who's going to get AoE damage, AoE poke? And I wonder, the Spellfire won't do so much when the Drifting Dog's going through, but if you get those empowered Malice and Verdict shots into the enemy team, that can really do some work there and help your front line out that much more. And during the end there, I didn't even notice that scout trap placed. Maybe you were a bit more observant as you were analyzing that match. I was lost in thought listening to Luxuria's own statements about what went wrong in the Ace Gaming team comp, and I think maybe Ace even realized that themselves could have been part of the reason why they decided to go for such an aggressive play, but it was already prepped from that prior engagement was the thing. They had that ready so they could go in as soon as they took that second armory down.
Yeah, Ace actually did the same thing after they took down the first armory. They put a scout cam up behind the wall right next to the vein crystal, but after the second army went down, that was when they really knew, okay, if all of us go to the scout cam, the vein is going to get melted instantly. If you all backdoor with just one armory down, it takes quite a lot longer to take that vein crystal down. It takes 50% reduced damage with one armory down and only 25% reduced damage with two armories down. So it's a considerable amount easier to take down, which makes sense. And then, yeah, the thing to remember about Vainglory is you should sacrifice everything to take down the vein crystal. It doesn't matter if you've lost all your turrets and all your armories. If you take down their vein crystal, you win the game. So sell 2 items to buy teleport boots. It doesn't really matter. It's worth it because they knew if all 5 members committed to the teleport boots play, it was unbeatable. They were going to win, provided they got vision on Renegades and knew Renegades weren't in their base already. So it was well played. And in the team fights, Ace won anyway, but it's just, if you can guarantee a win, you might as well go for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing there. You saw that Ace, they had opportunities, multiple opportunities where it looked like if they brawled through it, they could have won it out. But they were very smart. They waited until they were very much confident in getting that win. They got both 2 armories down out free. It was more than enough to go in with the 5-man team comp. And